Hey folks, Tripp here. As you'll hear on this recording, I messed up the connection for my microphone and it recorded with the onboard computer mic. I am really sorry, and I promise to try not to do this ever again. If you're an Android user and you're looking for a great way to listen to your podcasts, you ought to check out the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. There are thousands of good reviews touting all the wonderful features. I like the one where you just favorite your most enjoyed shows. Favorite your favorite shows, I always feel like is a silly sentence. Favorite your favorite shows. That's what I'm going to say.
You mark your favorite shows, I guess you could say.
But it's called favoriting in the app.
Okay, fair.
So, anyway, you favorite the podcasts you like the most. And then whenever they come out with a new episode, it downloads right to your device, so you never have to think about it. And in times like these, well, all times.
Where you don't know what day of the week it is.
Yes. It's nice to just have things like, oh, a new episode of a show that I like is available. Check it out on the Google Play Store. There are thousands of good reviews. You don't have to take our word for it. That's the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. If you're listening to this episode on the day that it comes out, you have a couple of days left. We've extended the deadline for Listener Request Month. Want to give everybody the opportunity to get those requests in. We are pushing that from April 30th back to May 8th at the stroke of midnight. So that's the second Friday in May. Call 856-DISSECT if you need help with transcribing the number. Hit up the social media feeds where I have it all typed out, but leave us a short message and we will draw those sometime in May with a fun live drawing.
And all prides are basically being canceled, so make it a good listener request month. I swear to God.
I don't care. Do whatever you want. That's what I say. What else am I doing?
I don't want it to be a long movie, and I don't want it to suck.
Somebody was asking me about Scarface recently. They're like, have you ever done that? And I was like, no. They're like, why not? It seems like kind of iconic. And I was like, it is. It's also 3 hours long.
Is it really?
Yeah, and I know that I won't like it. I've not seen it, but you can...
I like the elementary school Scarface.
Yeah, that was very funny. But anyway...
that's cute. I'll watch that Scarface.
What we have now done is, Streisand affected. It's just going to be 50 Scarface suggestions.
Wait, what? Streisand, what?
The Streisand effect. She, tried to hide something, and in trying to hide the thing, it made it much more big a deal, and then all these people... I think it was a giant house or something... Barbara Streisand was maybe she bought a huge house or she was having an event or some ostentatious rich person thing, and she went to such lengths to hide the ostentatious thing that people were even more curious about it. So it's
oh, interesting.
The Streisand effect
was it the mall she has built beneath her house?
It might be, but the Streisand effect is attempting to get something to not happen so hard that you make it happen.
Gotcha.
Basically.
Okay.
Anyway, 856-DISSECT. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Tripp Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, who's totally radical, the Macho Man Drew.
Andrew Lino.
We are first. This was this movie came into the podcast feed for you because it's Mother's Day, and we try to do something that she's been begging us to do this movie for 6 years. Literally from episode 1. It's when is the Valley Girl episode?
This and Urban Cowboy are the two that she's please.
Yes. Just dying to see us do those two movies. I'm thinking she's going to be a little disappointed in one of us after it's all said and done. But so
one of us.
So we put this in the feed, and then it turns out that the remake with Logan Paul that they tried to shove off into obscurity is being released on May 8th. So we're tying very nicely into that.
Yeah. 2 years ago, the remake got made and was supposed to be released, and they were like, no.
Well, let's do this and then do that. We watched Valley Girl, so you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's you totally bitchin' boyfriend. Something's gonna happen about you totally bitchin' boyfriend.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So I'm not 100% sure, but I am pretty sure that the Logan Paul thing happened right after that Suicide Forest thing with him.
Wait, I know what happened right after the...
So the movie was supposed to come out, And then
the Suicide Forest thing.
It was like a month. It was like a couple of months before the Suicide Forest thing. I'm pretty sure. And they were like, "Oh shit! Everybody pull back on the Logan Paul thing." And so they put this movie back into the hopper and just basically left it for dead. It was supposed to be that Suicide Forest thing came out January 2018. This original
I thought it was 2017. Was it 20? Was it
I just
18?
Googled and the article said January 2018. This movie is coming out now, but originally it was supposed to come out June 2018. So it was like 6 months within that Suicide Forest thing, and everyone was like, nope, 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 plus every other horrible thing that he did.
And you know what really blows is that movie has 3 actresses who like could have gotten earlier stepping stone. Like they're getting them. Like it's the girl from Happy Death Day.
Yeah, her name is Jessica Roth, I think.
Yes, she plays the Julie Richmond character, and I mean, I really like her as an actress.
I do too.
I would have liked to see her in more stuff. I want to say her name is Ashley Crawford. She plays Josie as in Josie and the Pussycats on Riverdale, and now on the spinoff show Katie Keene. And the girl she's the ex-girlfriend in Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, okay.
Who is now in the Bad Girls show.
Oh, wait, you're talking about Mae
Bad
Whitman?
Girls? Yes.
Mae Whitman has been around forever. Mae Whitman was on Arrested Development.
Yeah, but I feel like she kind of dipped.
She's like 45 years old and still playing teenagers.
I know, that weirds me out so much.
Yeah, she's my age. She's about a year younger than me, and she's still playing teenagers. Although I guess technically this movie was filmed 4 years ago. 27 playing a teenager is not that weird. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure it's awful. It's one of those times where it's like it'd be so easy for us to get a review copy, and I couldn't be bothered. Even during COVID, no. I don't want to have any interest. But I will say one thing: in watching the trailer, the gimmick is that Alicia Silverstone, aka Cher from Clueless, is telling her daughter a story.
AKA the woman who chews up her children's food for them.
Whatever, that's fine. But here's the thing. Why isn't it a 90s movie? You have the quintessential 90s Valley Girl in the movie. Tell the story of the night. Just update it 10 years. What are we doing? Why is this a thing?
I know. It should have been a Clueless. It should have basically been a Clueless remake.
It's so obvious. Like Clueless, a movie that owes a lot to Valley Girl in style and culture and everything. Like I really think in rewatching Valley Girl that Clueless is the most strong analog, where the movie is really a perfect cutout slice of this exact moment in time, sort of crystallized in amber in terms of music, in terms of fashion, in terms of slang. Clueless is very much the same thing of like there's not really much of a plot in the movie, but it's resonated culturally.
It's Emma,
I guess. I mean, just like this is Romeo and Juliet, but it's like the boringest version of an already boring story.
Yeah, no, I think this movie has less of a plot than Clueless, is what I would say.
But I think that like the cultural relevance of both of them is that they're such, like the reason why this movie is beloved and why it probably doesn't hit as hard for the two of us is that it's like a slice of life remembrance thing for a time that we didn't experience. But with Clueless, like I did live through the 90s. I was there, and it's when I turned that movie on, I was like, oh my god, I remember most of the only thing they don't have in that movie is like a Pog scene, which would be it's like the one piece of
Marvin the Martian features heavily.
Right.
Skateboarding. Right.
Yeah, I was going through stuff at Mom and Dad's, and I was like all these Marvin the Martian things. I was like, why did I like this so much? It's not like I was watching a lot of Looney Tunes, but he was hot. Yeah,
I was like, I've said that. I was like, Tripp for some reason just loved Marvin the Martian.
Yeah, I was all in. Anyway, we're rambling, and we should talk about Valley Girl. But I just don't understand how it's like, all right, we're gonna hire this quintessentially famous 90s actress and have her tell a story of the 80s. And then the other thing is like, this is something that Stranger Things does better than most 80s stuff, and I think it doesn't get enough.
It doesn't feel like cosplay?
Yes, it's just a shitty prom theme is what this movie looks like.
It looks like you went to Party City and you got like 80s lady in a bag costume where it's a neon pink fishnet armband and a neon green fishnet armband and a scrunchie. And they were like, here's your costume.
Right. I mean, the one tree from Happy Death Day is literally wearing Madonna's outfit from one of her videos, like a virgin, I think.
Yeah, it's the wedding dress, right?
Yeah. So stupid. Anyway, I'm never going to see that, and neither are you. So
It should have been Molly Ringwald,
yeah.
not Alicia
Yes,
Silverstone.
it's like if you're gonna and the reason why it's Alicia Silverstone is because she's about 10 years younger, and because they wanted the daughter to be 20, not 10 or 30 rather. So it's all very stupid. But yeah, it should have been Molly Ringwald, and it would have
If you're gonna do this framing,
Right.
because I'm not mad about the framing device.
No, it's
I think
cute.
it's a cute way to do it, and why it's an 80s, like a flashback story. But why? Alicia Silverstone does not make sense for an 80s throwback.
And like, frankly, I know obviously he's a trash monster. He's human HPV, but like, Logan Paul as the douchey boyfriend is actually pretty perfect casting because he doesn't have to do anything. I thought he was playing Randy.
Yeah, I mean, that is good casting, but he also should be put on a rocket and shot into the sun.
Sure, yeah, no, I mean,
and his little brother.
That's fine with me. Anyway, let's talk about the movie we're here to talk about, which is Valley Girl, the original one.
1983, not Valley Girl, parentheses 2020.
Yes. It is a movie. It is the second appearance on this podcast of Ms. Martha Coolidge, and also the third for Michelle Meyerink.
Yeah. Martha Coolidge, director, who was told by producers you have to have 4 shots with boobs in them. Otherwise, you can't make this movie.
That makes a lot of sense. I was very curious why there's so much casual nudity here.
Yep, the producers said, we'll let you direct it if you put boobs in it, because this is the bad place.
Yeah, I think she's obviously talented. I think this movie is poorly edited. There's some cool setups. There's some interesting shots.
And I don't think it's as strongly written as, because I think it was written in 10 days. And it shows.
That jives, yeah, for sure.
I think if you gave it an extra, make it an even month. Like, give it another 3 weeks to let it sit and, like, work it out, because
there's no plot in this movie.
Well, they want you to think there is, but the problem is that the lead character, Julie, doesn't ever talk about her own desires and wants.
Right. She barely talks, period.
Yeah. And when she does talk, it's just, well, I like Randy. My friends don't like him. And I was like, I need higher stakes than my high school best friends don't like my boyfriend. Like, I need, like, I'm going to go to college, and, if I need to be prom, like, if I'm not prom queen, it's not going to look good on like, it can be flimsy, but I need something.
It just needs to be this. Julie meets Randy. Julie dates Randy. Her friends shun her, and then she has no friends, and she's torn between this relationship that she likes and having any other social outlet. Like, she's sitting alone at lunch. She's not got a partner for the science lab. And she just montage this. It's like a 3-minute montage. It's like it's just cutting like a really cute date with Randy at the, Randy's Donuts, Pink's Hot Dogs, whatever LA other landmark there at the Viper Room. And then you cut back to like Julie's eating her sandwich alone at the lunch table and is sad. And then she's like...
And like her friends pointedly walk by.
Yeah. Like, and then she's shunned. And then she breaks up with Randy because she wants her friends back. And then the culmination of this is her trying to be like, you guys are important to me, but also it's kind of silly that you won't be my friend if I'm dating this guy who's not quote unquote cool enough for you. And then she kind of like merges the two houses of Valley and punk, whatever we're calling Randy.
Yeah, she calls Kevin Bacon. He flares his nostrils and glitter comes down from the ceiling.
Right.
Problem solved.
Right. But that doesn't happen. It's like she dates Randy. Her friends are like, you shouldn't do that. She's like, okay. And then Randy spends 40 minutes trying to get her back. And then...
Well, it's not even that. She goes, I really love Randy. And they're like, we don't like Randy. And she's like, but I love him. Dad, what should I do? And he's like, look, not everyone's going to be cool. Like, look how I looked. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Like, follow your heart. And I was like, oh, so she's going to pick Randy. And then the next scene is her being like, hi, best friends. You think I should get back together with my abusive ex-boyfriend?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I was like, wait, there's something in between there and
yes, there's many options. Anyway, let's get to it. There is a bizarre... So we have a mall montage to start. And
I love 80s mall aesthetic.
Yeah. I was excited.
It's so great.
Yes. This is a good example of what I just mentioned with like Stranger Things getting it right, is like this actually was filmed there, and it feels like the Stranger Things people just watched the mall montages in the movie like this and others and duplicated it instead of doing like, I don't know, they're all dressed like Madonna or something.
Mm-hmm. Like it's got that feel. Like if they threw that VHS flicker effect every 20 minutes or so in Stranger Things, I wouldn't be mad because I'd be like, oh, okay, this feels like I'm watching an old VHS tape.
Right. But she's got this Woody Woodpecker pin, which I find fascinating. Is like just such a weird little thing, which I'm sure is taken from real life, but it's just such an odd little
And one of her best friends is Tommy goddamn motherfucking in-your-face Pickles.
Yeah, it's really a problem when he starts talking about orgasms. It's really upsetting.
Yeah,
it's quite...
because Tommy E.G. Daly, who's a fairly prominent voice actress, I want to say, but for Tommy Pickles, it's not far off from her real voice.
Right.
For other stuff, she's put on more of a voice. Like Tara Strong is another actress who's done a lot.
It's a little huskier as Tommy Pick. It's a little more masculine, but not by a wide margin. Because he's a baby.
No, her voice naturally has a bit of a rasp, that Tommy Pickles rasp to it. And so it's just so weird when like she's talking and then her boobs come out, and I'm like, my brain.
yeah. I don't like it. So we cut from the mall to Nicolas Cage looking the babiest he's ever looked. I mean, BAB-IEST. Technically both things are true, but I am here highlighting that he is
neck
total
down,
babe.
he's a babe.
He's kind of a babe everywhere. What are you talking about?
He's got a weird face for me.
He's still got his real hair, and it's like...
there's no plugs yet.
It looks nice. He's got like a young, handsome face. I don't know what you're talking about. I think he's a total babe here.
His face always looked like young Nicolas Cage face looks weird to me because his body hasn't grown into it yet.
Yeah, I guess so.
So you got this weird, like, very adult face on a like young, hunky body. It's weird.
We cut from the beach to we're having a party, and so we're trying on outfits, including one of them where just like takes her sweatshirt off, flips it inside out, and puts it back on. And it's like, all right, time for the party. And I was like, wait a minute, that's a thing?
Yeah, it's the 80s. There's no rules.
But was it like, oh, the sweatshirt is boring when it's right side out and cool when it's inside out? Or was it a calculated decision of, I'm going to wear my sweater in the uncool way so that when I spill icy on it later, I can just flip it and no one will see?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. We get a Slurpee.
Yeah.
Julie wears a pirate shirt.
Yeah, she certainly does.
And we meet her very cool parents.
I really like both parents. The hippie thing, it works for me. The dad.
I love the hippie thing. It always feels like she's hitting on her dad.
Yeah, it does. But he has, like, I know it's not Sonny Bono, but he has this sort of Sonny Bono look.
Yes, he's Sonny Bono.
He's very Sonny Bono. But I just love he's like constantly sneaking off to smoke a joint. The parents seem to genuinely love each other, and that's cool. Like, it's... The
mom is Yvette the maid from Clue.
Oh, she is. I didn't put that together until you just said that.
I was listening.
Coming soon. Coming later this year.
Oh my god. One of the best movies ever.
Definitely coming to Patreon later this year. But so we got to the party after we meet the parents. We're making sushi, and for some reason they're putting peanut butter in the sushi.
Yeah, that was so weird.
And
well, first of all, there's sushi at a high school party.
And sushi at this point is like a new food. This is cutting edge stuff.
Like, sushi wasn't even mentioned in Clueless.
Right. This is like
Starbucks was the sushi of Clueless.
Yeah, that
because it's
sense.
Not even talked about, but they're all drinking Starbucks.
Yeah, that would be the same thing. And between the two of us, you are by far the more I like sushi, but you love sushi. I think
I love sushi. My Valentine's this year was all you can eat sushi, and we ate far too much.
There's a grocery store near me that in the before times on Fridays they had like a special markdown, like $5 specialty boxes, and so occasionally we would get like a bunch of those and have like a Friday feast. So I like sushi, but
that's still a thing, actually. The last time I went to the grocery store, which was like a week and a half ago, the beer and wine was separate in a long line, and the line snaked through what used to be the like salad bar section. But on the other side, again, in the case, they still had like the rotisserie chicken and all that stuff, and they had sushi. Like, they still had sushi there.
Yeah, I don't think I there's no reason other than my own psychosis. I'm just not ready to eat sushi.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyway, peanut butter and sushi never happened, right?
No, I'm trying to think. I was like, I know that like peanut butter noodles is kind of an Asian thing. Yeah. But I've never, unless it's sesame, because like sesame kind of has a peanut butter consistency.
That's what I kept thinking. Paste. Yeah, like, okay, maybe it's tahini, but even if it was tahini, that's a lot of tahini.
It's like a tablespoon of tahini per roll.
Per roll, yeah. I when I use tahini.
Well, you know what? Actually, the extras are eating it. Like and there's a shot of an extra picking up a peanut butter covered sushi and eating it. So it has to be something edible, like not disgusting.
Oh, I mean, it's food. I mean, you could eat tuna with peanut butter on it. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could do it.
But I mean, like I don't think there would be any shots of anyone actually eating it.
Yeah, I think that's probably
if
true.
It was peanut butter on tuna.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So I'm guessing it's a sesame situation. Although I don't know if there are any older listeners who were eating sushi at the time of this film. Call in.
Yeah. Or if you've ever encountered peanut butter sushi, I want to know about this.
Yeah. Also, it's weird that there's parents at this high school party. I'm not used to that in movies.
And they're just like, oh, everybody get drunk. It's cool. Except the real reason the parents are at this party.
Well, they're not drinking. There are people drinking out of like the hobo brown paper covered bottles, but it's all soda.
I saw a lot of cups.
Well, I think because they were like handing out soda cans and there were cups to go with them.
I think cups equals liquor. That's my. If I see you drinking out of a solo cup, it's because whatever you're drinking, you're not supposed to be.
That's fair.
We're introduced at this point to Tommy, who's the abusive boyfriend. People in the modern times would know him probably as Uncle Jack from Breaking Bad, the horrible neo-Nazi. And when I realized that there was the same actor, I was kind of blown away.
Does he look the same now?
He looks like
quote unquote
an old Nazi version of this guy. being a racist does not make you age well in what I've seen of old racists on television.
That's very fair. The girl who's hosting the party, Susie, tells her stepmom...
Oh, that's what I was going to say. The reason why the parents are at this party is because the stepmom is a predator and she's cruising for targets.
Well, so I'm confused because she says, this is my stepmom, Beth, I think?
Yeah.
Beth, this is Skip. And she'd already been like, I like Skip. Like, I want to date Skip. And Beth instantly hones in on Skip.
Right.
But there's also another adult man. And I was like, oh, is that her dad? And that's her stepmom.
I thought
But then later she's like, my stepmom is out on a date. So does she not have any birth parents?
I thought it meant stepmom is out on a date, like, with the dad. Because the guy comes in.
Well, no, she specifically says on the phone, my stepmom isn't here. Do you want to come over?
But he asks...
It's not my parents.
He asks first. He said, is your stepmom there? And she said, no, she's out on a date.
Oh.
Because he asked about parent A, she said parent A,
her
not
specifically.
Parents. Yeah.
Also, Nicolas Cage picks up a chopstick covered in... It's like a cotton candy of wasabi.
Yes, why is this even an option?
And he goes, oh, I know this stuff. It's pistachio paste. And he eats it. And I was like, oh, there's going to be a jokey, like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like he drinks something. And nothing.
Stone-faced.
I was like, that's not pistachio paste.
Yes. He's
unless maybe in 1983 they served pistachio paste with your peanut butter sushi.
So much. That's like such an expensive ingredient. Now I'm sure it's crazy expensive back then.
Pistachio paste and macadamia paste.
Right. Also, did you notice? So my notes are a little scattered in this party scene. I think this is relatively right after what you're talking about. There's like a very chaste kiss between two extras in the background.
I didn't notice.
They do like a quick like peck lip to lip, and it was just such an odd thing. That's like, why do they do it? Like, are they a couple? And I spent 5 minutes being like, are they a couple in real life? Like,
I'll tell you what that was. That was, hey, I wonder what we can get away with in the background of this movie. We can't make it too crazy, but I want us to be noticeable. And if we kiss, it's something that's just enough. I'll keep it in the background.
Yeah, maybe. I did 1 day of extra work on Veep. You can see.
Oh, that's right.
You can see like a millimeter of my hair in the deep background of one episode of Veep. Actually, you can kind of see my shadow, but I'm not visible. But yeah, I was out of work and they were like casting, and I was like, well, I'll make $80, you know. But they were
extra work can be pretty nice.
They came to each table and told us like, this is what you're supposed to be doing, and so if you deviated, they were mad at you.
Well.
So I imagine at a party scene, it's a little bit different because they're just going to be like, oh, like do party stuff, you know, pretend to dance.
Well, also because for this movie, music is so important. I don't know what they would have done this, but currently in like a lot of movies today, they don't know what music they're going to play or have the rights to. So they'll play like 30 seconds of a song so people all have a beat to go off of and then cut it. And so everyone's just dancing to nothing and like kind of grooving on their own. So I wonder if it's that situation where they were like, I lost. I don't know what to do.
The reason why it stood out to me is because, like, if they were making out in the background, it wouldn't be that weird, right? It's a party. It's kids are dancing. Kids are making out. That seems very normal. But the fact that it was this extremely, like, cute kiss, like, a little, like, it just stood out to me.
Two nerds from Greece have a moment to kiss in the background.
Yeah, it was, like, just a quick smooch.
And then Tommy, who is Julie's ex-boyfriend. Oh, she dumped her boyfriend at the mall. We forgot to say that.
We did, yes.
She was like,
yes.
They're like they're like talking about boys at the table, and she's like, Tommy's kind of a douche nozzle, and then she breaks up with him. And so at the party, he's like going after her, but then also goes after Tommy Pickles, and then beds Tommy Pickles.
Well, tries to.
I mean, he gets her top off.
Yeah, and then
they're in bed.
Yes, but when you say beds as a verb, it usually means sex. And what happens here is she gets her top out of her racing fire suit for NASCAR.
I love this jumpsuit. It's a bright red, 100% synthetic fiber jumpsuit that would immediately melt. Like if you're near a fire in this thing, you're done for. You can't get it.
I thought it looked like a flame retardant jumpsuit like you wear at NASCAR.
No, I'm picturing it's the like, because do you remember in science class where there was like the videos were the stuff was like just old enough to be like, if you're wearing any plastic clothes, any blah blah clothes, take them off immediately if there's a fire.
I do.
And we were like, plastic clothes?
Yeah,
Like, never mind. Or the safety video where it's like the neon colored synthetic whatever, and they like on a dummy arm, and it immediately goes up in flames like it's made of wood.
Like those Christmas tree videos.
Yes.
But at that point, when she's topless, she's like, does this mean anything? Like, are we going to be boyfriend and girlfriend? And he's like, no, I just want to have sex with you. And she's like, well, I'm not into that. And he's like, ugh, you slut. And
like,
then leaves.
You're my best friend's boyfriend.
Yeah.
So this is either going to be a thing. Like, I'm not losing a friend over a fuck. Like,
yeah.
I'll lose a friend for a boyfriend, but not for a fuck.
Yeah. And then
I think that those stakes would have made, like, dating him means something, you know what I mean?
Definitely. Like, he's status in the school.
Yeah. But, like, and it's kind of a stat, but it doesn't feel very firmly like he is the top tier.
What do you mean? You don't think he's, like, the top of the food chain?
I think if the movie had been more explicit about it, I would have understood more of the, like, you're going to throw away dating the king of the high school kind of, discussion. Oh,
see, I got that. That's exactly the tone I thought that they had.
I don't know. I wanted something a little more explicit.
So Nic Cage and Julie have the meet cute. He's Randy in this movie, so it's Randy and Julie, which is, I don't know, not even close to Romeo and Juliet, which kind of disappoints me.
I mean, Julie is close enough, but what name would you have given him that's close enough to Romeo?
I don't know. I feel like Randy is not great.
Romy? Like Romy and Michelle?
Yeah, Romy doesn't work. I mean, there's not a good... You could have had him be, like, I don't know, James Romeo.
Yeah, you could have.
I mean, that seems, like, really easy. Or even if it was, like, Randy Romeo, like, it's alliterative.
Or his name could have been Monty, like Montague.
Yeah. Monty Romeo is better by far than Randy. I mean, I don't think Monty sounds, like, real cute in terms of a 17-year-old saying it, but whatever. I will say... What
quote-unquote 17-year-old.
What makes this movie functional is the fact that the two of them seem like they really like each other.
Oh, there's such great chemistry. It's an overboard situation.
Yes, exactly. Where the whole thing is carried by the fact that the two of them genuinely seem gaga for one another.
Also, I think Julie is a two-face because when she's around her friends... when she's around her friends, she looks like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old playing 16, 17.
Yeah.
When she's with Nicolas Cage, she looks like she's in her late 20s. And I don't know what it is about, like, because I think Nicolas Cage looks old, too. But I think there's something about their faces together in the same shot. I'm like, these are high schoolers? But then when she's, like, hanging with her friends at the mall, I'm like, oh, these are high schoolers.
He was only 19 when this came out, so he was probably 18 when they filmed it.
Really?
Yeah, he was very, very young.
He's an old-looking 18.
And she was 21. So... they're pretty close to being the actual ages they are in the movie. It's closer than most stuff now. That show Outer Banks on Netflix is ostensibly about.
This is your new obsession.
No, I just have watched
listeners,
4 episodes.
Listeners, you aren't privy to a private life.
Okay, I texted about it one time to ask if anyone else was watching it.
It's been brought up on a family Zoom. It's been texted about.
Okay, I would like to defend myself here a little bit. The context of the family Zoom was, what's everyone watching? And I was like, well, we just watched an episode of this show. I don't know if it's any good or not. New obsession feels a little aggressive. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, the teenagers on that show, the youngest of them is like 28 or 27. I was looking them up because I was like, oh, what are these youth been in before? And it was like, he's playing a 17-year-old boy. He's 28 years old. Go away.
It's like on 90210, there was the old one. Great Andrea, apparently.
I'm getting texted from the other room that says, he can't believe he called you out on your new obsession. Does he know about the... What you don't know is about the Blind show. That show was an actual obsession for a good 2
What, Love
weeks.
is Blind?
No, there's a Netflix show about a blind person whose best friend gets murdered and then she tries to solve the murder. It was also like potato chip TV, but I just is like...
Sounds very Hallmark Channel.
No, it's not. It's sexy. It's not a Hallmark thing by any stretch.
Okay.
She's like the trailer for the show is this blind girl cutting in line at the store and buying cigarettes and then like walking out of the store lighting up. It's like that's the sort of edgy thing.
She's very Jessica Jones.
Yeah, that's the sort of vibe. But I got like hot on that for a week and like,
Is it a show?
Yeah, it's bad. It's objectively bad, but it's like, well, this is easy to consume and it doesn't require any brain power. Yum, 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 yum. I have no capacity for being challenged by entertainment right now. I can't even like, I'll get like 15 minutes into a movie and be like, nah, not happening. I tried to do this movie in 2 sessions.
Yeah, I've definitely been watching a lot of Bob's Burgers on repeat. We just started rewatching Futurama. I forgot how good that show was and how much I love Dr. Zoidberg.
Mm-hmm.
That's another good one to just throw on. And then when you get to Jurassic Park, just hit the next skip episode. Don't watch that one. Because we watched... it's called Penny Dreadful. It was on Showtime like 3 years ago. It's only 3 seasons, like 10 episodes max a season, so it's pretty quick to binge through. But the 3rd season was just so damn unsatisfying.
Yeah, I only ever watched like 2 episodes of that one. I couldn't get into it.
And they're rebooting it as City of Angels set in 1930s Los Angeles with Mexican folklore, so I'm excited about that.
Nic Cage is wearing an American flag pin, which I find fascinating.
He is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Also, in my notes, I kept writing down Tommy, meaning the actress who plays Tommy Pickles, and I couldn't remember the boy's name, so I was just leaving blanks. And now that I have firmly committed that his name is Tommy, I have things like blank asks...
Tommy talks to Tommy.
Yeah. It'll be like blank asks Tommy, and it's like, well, actually, that should be Tommy asks AJ? What's her name in the movie? I don't remember.
Her real name is E.G.
Yes.
Well, Elizabeth. I didn't write it down.
Lauren.
Okay. She also didn't know how to do a Valley Girl accent, or dialect, I should say. It's not an accent. So instead, she decided that her character would be from Malibu. That's why she doesn't talk like a Valley Girl, but talks like a Californian.
Yeah. The soundtrack to this movie is very good. I think we should say that.
It's up there with Footloose and Flashdance with like iconic. Which is funny because it's not. I feel like this movie doesn't get talked about as much in terms of iconic '80s soundtracks.
Right. I think it's because people are going to get so upset. But if you lined up those movies, I think this is the worst of the 3. And I really thought Flashdance was like hard to watch.
I think this and Flashdance are pretty equal.
Yeah, I would rather watch Flashdance again than watch this again.
Okay.
But the reason I bring up the soundtrack is because Electric Avenue is playing right now. And then, of course, Tommy comes down to his friends and he's like, totally boned her.
And then sees...
are they doing coke here? Because it seems like they're doing coke here, but it's not like...
Who?
The Tommy and his bros are all sniffing a lot.
I mean, maybe. That might have just been residual actual life.
Okay.
The 80s, man. You never know. But he sees Randy talking to Julie and gets really angry and punches Randy.
Right.
Which feels like there should have been something... leading up to this.
Sure, yeah, like anything. Any little thing would be.
Yeah, Randy scratched Tommy's car, or knocked a hot dog out of his hand at the beach with a Frisbee. I don't know.
If you drop your hot dog because of a Frisbee, I feel that you do not have a good enough grip on your foodstuffs.
No, but like he's like a real National Lampoon or John Candy moment of like bringing the hot dog in, get hit in the face with a Frisbee.
Sure. I'm just saying, if you don't have a good enough grip on your hot dog to withstand a Frisbee, you don't want that hot dog very much.
A Frisbee to the face?
The Frisbee is the only thing that you can take directly to the face and just shrug off. Unless it hits you square in the eye, which is like a pretty small...
I think Frisbees hurt more than you think.
I've been hit with the Frisbee. Okay, tennis ball, baseball, football, Frisbee. Which one do you want to take off the face?
If I have to pick one of those, a Frisbee.
Okay, well, those are the objects being thrown on a beach, so what do you want from me?
Who's throwing a baseball on a beach?
That happens all the time.
I get football. I'll give you a football, Frisbee, maybe a wiffle ball moment.
The wiffle ball
I'm not seeing baseballs on the beach or tennis balls on the beach.
I've seen people...
Unless there's a dog.
I've seen people with... the tennis ball was a dog. That was my thought. But people have brought their glove to the beach and thrown a baseball around, like, all the time. I guarantee you someone listening to this podcast has done that.
I haven't seen it.
The wiffle ball to the face is better than the Frisbee, but, like, not by a huge margin.
No. So he beats him up, and they throw him out of the party. And it's not even his party.
Yeah. He's just elected himself Bouncer King.
I was waiting for Susie to be like, hey, I don't care.
Right. Like, he's allowed to be here. It's cool.
Because he's dressed differently. He's a punk. Do we say that he's a punk? Quote, unquote. So he's dressed differently, but he's not like, normally when you think punk in movie world, it's like that scene in Weird Science where the bikers come in.
Right.
Or the scene from Girls Just Want to Have Fun where the bikers crash the cotillion thing, whatever that was.
He also doesn't really listen to punk music. Like, when he goes out, it's to all sorts of different music.
There's no punk music anywhere in this
Right.
movie.
Like, I was expecting when Randy took her to the club, it was going to be, like, really Sex Pistols, Ramones type, like, 3 power chords and grungy, chunky stuff. And it's not that at all.
No, it's weird. But it's like everyone's in pastel and he's wearing red and black.
Yeah.
So visually he stands out, but it's like he's wearing like a black cutoff t-shirt with red suspenders hanging down.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're up. I don't know. But like his hair isn't a spiky mohawk that's 5 feet tall.
It's not blue.
He's not wearing like spiked bracelets. It's a very normal. I'm like, this is just a dude who doesn't wear pastel.
Right. He tells Julie that she's truly dazzling, which I think is an excellent compliment. Like that's a lovely compliment. The highest movie compliments we've seen on the show.
Because it's sort of general about a whole person, and it's not skeezy sounding.
Right. And this sets up what you were just alluding to, like the whole Montagues and Capulets thing of like the Valley crowd and the punk crowd and never the twain shall meet, etc., etc.
Yeah. So they throw him and his best friend out. And
so, okay, here's another thing it just popped into my head. Another thing this movie needs is a moment where he tries to change to fit in with her crowd, and they don't accept him even after that.
The movie you're thinking of is Grease.
Does he? Who does?
Yes.
Okay.
Danny Zuko becomes an athletic guy, like a jock, and leaves the T-Birds behind.
Okay. But it's right there. It's like so close to having all the elements. It's just like, I don't know, how about a scene where he's wearing a sweater?
Yeah. Although I guess that's not in Romeo and Juliet.
Well, the difference is in actual Romeo and Juliet, he couldn't just like, well, I'll just pretend to be your cousin and still sleep with you. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Well, the issue in the Romeo and Juliet is like their families are warring, and so he can't like be a member of his family. They know who he is.
I get that. It's just funny.
There's not a quick change that can solve this problem.
So yeah, they throw him and his friend out, and for some reason they drive away and then get out of the car in the middle of the highway or in the middle of like a dangerous curve looking thing.
It's like a make-out point looking place, except there's nowhere to actually park.
Yeah, and they get out of the car and like Nicolas Cage kicks it and he's like, I'm going back. And I was like, this could have happened in front of the house.
Right. It did not. This is totally unnecessary.
I don't know why we had to drive away. This movie is also 99 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not a long movie.
No. Also, I don't know why this note is this far down. Usually I try to rewrite these up near the top, but Tommy, the actor who plays Tommy, is Martha Plimpton's half uncle. They have like a mesh family thing. Yeah.
Half uncle. So would that mean he married her.
No, he's the child of someone who remarried above her.
Oh, okay.
But she's also related to like.
I wish Martha Plimpton had been in this movie.
She's also part of the Carradine family. Martha Plimpton.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Her dad is Keith Carradine, who is the son of John Carradine, and I think the brother of.
Is David? Is he part of that?
Oh, maybe they're not. Maybe he and David aren't directly related. Okay, no one cares about this. I mean, truly, no one could care. But David Carradine is in that crew. I just don't know that.
Simply Plimpton, our new podcast.
Yes, it's just exploring the Plimpton family tree.
I feel like Martha Plimpton would have been a good best friend in this movie.
Yeah, no, she would fit right in here. It would be really, really great, actually, if she was in. Mm-hmm. Although she was like 15, so she would have been way younger than the cast, I think.
Well, when was Goonies 89?
No, Goonies is around the same time, but isn't she like... She was born in 1970, so she would have been 13 when this came out.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, because she looks like a late teenager in the Goonies. Like,
yeah.
At most 20 in the Goonies.
So I sidetracked this. They get back to the party. Nic Cage climbs up the trellis, very Romeo and Juliet.
Climbs in the bathroom window, and I was like, what's his plan? Because then he starts being weird and like Nicolas Caging out.
Yeah.
He's like muttering to himself and like lightly tapping things. And then he just goes into the shower and hides. And I was like, what is he doing?
I mean, everybody's got to pee sometime.
And then I was like, oh, he's just waiting for Julie to come into the bathroom.
Right. I like this, like, sort of half This movie has a lot of, I keep writing down half montages. I don't know what to call them, because it's like, a montage has no dialogue. That's sort of what a montage is. This movie has montage scenes with dialogue, but they are very montagey, where it's like, click,
I think to make it a montage, it has to have non-essential dialogue. So like you can have a quick cut of like a couple giggling and like saying a few words like, I know, right? Right. And I would still call that a montage. And that's sort of what's going on here. It's clips of partygoers coming to the bathroom.
They're like interstitially. A lot of this movie has these weird like little, it's like channel flip scenes where it's like next. Yeah. But this bathroom half montage, we've got people having sex, we've got some hand jobs, there's some weed, there's some boobs. It's just like all sorts of weird stuff happening up here.
Surprisingly, no cocaine.
Yeah. So they meet again, and Cage has a real smoldery energy up here, which I said, I think this is like peak attractiveness for Nic Cage.
It is.
So they leave together, and I don't know if you caught.
He's like, "Hey, let's go anywhere." And this is where I was like, "You really should have had a plan," because she's like, "Where do you want to go?" And he says, "Anywhere." And she says, "What do you want to do?" And he says, "Anything." And I was like, I mean, sure, in movie language, that's code for I'm spontaneous and fun.
Yeah.
But he could have been like, "Let's go get a burger."
Yeah.
Something specific.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be the sort of like he's sort of a manic pixie dream girl for her.
He is.
Also, did you notice as they're having this conversation, there's a guy passed out like half in the window of a car?
No, I missed that.
It looks like he tried to jump in an open window and just like fell asleep with his butt hanging out. It's really delightful.
Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, basically.
So they leave.
With her friend Brandy.
Yeah, her best friend's like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to be with punks. They're not cool.
Yeah. So we're cruising the Sunset Strip, and Cage does his like shriek laugh at one point, which is the first little glimmer of Cage's to come years later.
Okay, sorry to minor. Have you seen the Nicolas Cage movie with Selma Blair, Mom and Dad?
I've seen the trailer. It's on my queue, but I've not actually watched it.
Okay, same here. I was curious if you had seen it, and
that looks like so. Somebody wrote a really good article that's like there's basically 4 quadrants of Nic Cage. You've got like
untethered,
but there's untethered with a guiding hand on the tiller, which is your like Mandy, your Face Off, your
Is Mandy good?
I didn't love it as much as the internet did, but I think it's very watchable. Where he's playing crazy, but the director is using that
funneling it.
Yeah, he's like a really sharp sword, and the person wielding the crazy Nic Cage energy is the sword, and there's a competent person wielding it. Whereas like you've got your bad crazy Cage, which is he's playing that kind of psycho and just
Wicker Man.
Yeah, Wicker Man, exactly. Where it's just like I don't know, it's just like cutting stuff down, it's just swinging all over the place. So you got that, and then you have like subdued, incredible performer Nic Cage, who doesn't come out to play anymore, but is like your Moonstruck, your Leaving Las Vegas is, there's others. And then there's another.
Didn't he do a movie with Abigail Breslin where she's like a zombie or something?
You're thinking of Maggie, and that was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh. No.
And then their other category is where he does like National Treasure, which is like sort of halfway.
I was gonna ask where National Treasure falls on this.
So National Treasure is like sort of the subdued guy and sort of the crazy guy, but neither he's both Jekyll and Hyde at the same time, and neither gets to really drive the car, and so it's kind of nothing. Even though like
I'm picturing this being a triple Venn diagram, and National Treasure is the middle part.
Maybe.
Where like it's competent, it's manic, and it's actually a decent performance. Like there's a subdued energy there.
Yeah, I mean, I like those movies. I think they are like perfect hangover afternoon movies. I don't think that he's particularly good in them. There's a lot of like, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, it's like I don't know what he's doing.
That's like Wilford Brimley.
No, that was more Busey than Brimley, but it's like that's like sort of where his energy lies in those movies, though. He's like doing nothing. He's not doing crazy
because they surround him with like Diane Kruger,
right,
and the nerdy guy, and then they were like John Voight and Helen Mirren.
Right. And like no one knows what movie they're making. They can't tell if they're making Indiana Jones or Goonies, and those are very different movies, and so they're trying to do both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, no one makes adventure movies anymore, so I have a soft spot for any adventure movie, but that National Treasure is sort of this weird. I mean, they happen here and there, but very rarely do you get like a good. When's the last like good adventure movie you saw?
I don't know. I feel like Stranger Things season 1 had that energy.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm talking about movies. It's like it's sort of a dead genre.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's like I even remember watching when it came on HBO. There's a rom-com with Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. Fool's Gold?
Out of the blue. Fool's Gold, because I made fun of that movie.
Right.
Remember,
right.
The movie ends, there's a plane crash into some water, and I was like, roll credits.
Yeah. It's bad. I mean, I don't remember any of the details. I just remember being bad, but I was like, oh, it's an adventure. Like, I want to see the adventure. And it's like, it's a bad venture is what it is. But yeah, I just feel like that genre is dead.
Is the first Pirates movie the last good adventure movie?
Probably, yeah. And that honestly is like also sort of a weird nebulous other thing because it's sort of an epic, and adventures can be epics, but I'm thinking more of like Indiana Jones isn't really an epic, you know? I like it.
No,
it's in the ballpark. It's right there. But that's 20 years ago at this point. 2003.
Yeah, it's almost.
Anyway.
It holds up. We just rewatched the first 3 because the first 3 are the only ones on Disney Plus. They have 1, 2, 3, and then they have a slot for 5.
Yeah, one of those. This is coming in 4 years nonsense.
Because I was like, sure, I'll watch the 5th. I haven't seen the 5th one. The 4th one has mermaids, so I watched the mermaid part because it's kind of cool, actually. And then I was like, oh, the 5th one, I haven't seen it. And I was like, this is coming in 2021. Yeah. And I was like, get out of here.
Apparently people like the 5th one. I have not seen it. Anyway, we're on the sun.
It's...
Go ahead. Sorry. Last thing. Wrap it up.
I was like, because it's not Johnny Depp, but it is Johnny Depp
still, right? Yeah. Anyway, we're on the Sunset Strip. Brandy is in the back seat with Nic Cage's best friend, not having a good time. Julie,
no,
enamored by the fact that Nic Cage both knows everyone and is like waving to everybody and being like, "Hey, Johnny, yo, Rico," and like, no,
you didn't get the mohawk. Yeah. Like it like, oh, this is the humanizing shot.
Right. But you could totally recut this where he's like, as like he has kidnapped 3 people and they're all terrified. No problem.
Yes, you could. You easily could. So they go to a club that originally was called Filthy McNasty's.
Yes.
In the 60s, and then became the Central, I think it was called. It was so
worst name by far.
Yeah, called the Central, and then it was. You said the Viper Room, is that right? Johnny Depp bought it and turned it into the Viper Room.
Is that what this is? I just said the Viper Room because it's a big famous Sunset Strip location. I didn't know.
This was okay. It is, and that's where River Phoenix died.
Right.
So that's this club.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
they have a fight over music at this point, and then this leads to the big smoocherooski.
Well, because they're at a bar that's very crowded. It's clearly like, I mean, it's club, bar, divey, concert event. It's a mix of things.
Yeah, and so
it's the wrong side of the tracks.
Right.
In movie world.
So while Julie and Randy are smooching, the friend has succeeded in the classic movie technique of just wear her down, and they're also kissing. And I'm like, no, bad lesson.
But I think she seems into it. Like she's like, okay, you're kind of charming. I won't tell my friends about you.
Yeah.
But I'll hook up with you in the backseat of a car.
So he takes Julie home in the broad daylight, and the hippie parents are not mad at all.
Yeah. Mom is like doing prenatal yoga, it looks like.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, we're not mad. We just want to know what happened.
Yeah, like, oh, was it fun? Was it nice? What happened? Smash cut to school. I guess it's the next day or a day later or something, and not the same day, but who knows?
I don't
Are they
know.
having Wednesday night parties in the valley? She's the driving instructor sequence is, I think, the highlight of the movie.
I love it, but I also understand why there's friends in the backseat of the car in driving class.
That happens only in movies.
Well, also, this kind of driving class only happens in movies.
What do you mean?
Where, like, your school has cars. Our school didn't have cars.
I took driving lessons in a car.
Was it... Because Mom and Dad did the thing for me where, like, there was an instructor through the, like, There
was, like, a driving school. It wasn't a formal class, but, like, it happened during school hours, and I was allowed to leave class for it.
See, mine was on my lunch.
Maybe I did
I
it.
skipped...
Maybe I skipped study halls to do it.
Yeah, it was like you skip
Okay.
study hall or lunch once a week, but it wasn't an official. It wasn't through school.
No, but it was
wasn't
it was like kind of okayed by the school, and then doing it meant you could take your test with that guy, and also you got a lower insurance rate because you were like a safe driver.
Yeah, it was. It was 6 lessons, and your 6th lesson was your driving
Yes.
test.
Did he make you parallel park?
Yeah. Well, the 5th time on the 5th. So the 5th lesson was parallel parking, and we went to an empty street, and he pulled out 2 traffic cones, and he was like, "Here you go," and I was like, "Okay."
So I got to my 6th test, and he was like, "Oh, we never did parallel parking," and he goes, "Do you want me to teach you that?" And I was like, "I guess," and he was like, "You're never going to need to do that, so I'll just pass you." And so he gives me my license, a permit, or whatever. I've never parallel parked. Cut to like 6 months later or whatever, I have my license. I'm doing this thing in Philadelphia where I did like a faux internship at KYW, the news station, and I was like learning radio production. It was like a 6 weeks, once a week on the weekends thing. And I was very late, and so I was like speeding to get there. And the closest parking place to the station, instead, I was a lot that we would normally park at, but I was late, so I was like, shit. So I parallel parked for the first time on the streets of Philadelphia. Did it in one try. I had never done it before. I had never even practiced it. It was just like, well, this is what they do in the movies. Look over, back in, whoop, and I was perfect. And it was like, well, that was a true miracle. Thanks, world. And I ran into the thing.
I hate parallel parking. I always make boyfriends do it, or whoever's in the car with me. I have both the backup camera and the backup beeps, and I still hate it.
That's wild to me.
It's just, I hate it so much.
The driver, she's doing donuts, and the driver is freaking out of her just like squeal, 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 spinning in circles. And then eventually,
it's a real like she's driving like Chevy Chase in vacation movies.
Yes. And then eventually he just opens the door and jumps out of the car.
Just tuck and rolls.
Yeah, it's so nuts. Meanwhile, Skip and Michelle Meyrink's stepmom are having sex, which is cool and good.
No, she seduces him first. This isn't the sex scene.
Oh, okay.
Skip delivers groceries. I don't know what time or day it is ever in this movie, because Skip is a high school student.
Right.
And it's the middle of the afternoon. Yep. Driving classes we just saw driving classes.
So my headcanon was driving class is an after school activity, and Skip went to work.
Gotcha. Okay, that can work. I'll let that headcanon fly. Because he drops off some groceries, and she instantly is like dropping references to is it The Graduate? No. What's the older
The Graduate.
lady, the Graduate, yeah. She's dropping references to The Graduate.
Yeah,
She's like, I don't know why you left the party without saying goodbye. I thought we were having a good time. And I'm like, I am uncomfortable.
Yeah, you are a predator, miss. Nic Cage shows up at her parents' health food restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Which it looks like a dive diner.
Yes.
It doesn't look like a health food restaurant.
Well, I mean, it's a dive diner that just is vegetarian.
But I needed more like hanging plants and macrame.
That would make more sense. Just like a big pot of bean sprouts that they're sprinkling and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of skip out and we get a great little dating montage.
Yes.
That is the length of the entire song, Melt the World.
Which is fine. Like a 3-minute montage is good. Like it's a good song. It's a very good song.
I'm happy it's a good song, but I'm just like, this just feels so lazy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is. But I think it was basically like the perfect melding of current popular love song and a movie about teenagers falling in love. It seems like a no-brainer.
It didn't have to be the full 3.5 minute song. It could have been a 1 minute cut. We could have gotten the hit clips version.
There's also this bit, I think it's in the montage, of the goth punk at the beach. And earlier they showed Nic Cage at the beach and he's just in like blue swim trunks. But there's like a funny thing to be had of like goth punks at the beach in their goth punk wear and it being wildly impractical for the location.
Or I want to see like them wearing like Victorian bathing suits. Like black and white striped.
Right.
Like not leotard, singlets.
That montage also apparently is a week. Because at this first scene afterwards, they talk about like, "Wow, you've been busy this week."
Yeah. They also stop in front of a marquee for Romeo and Juliet. In case you didn't get it.
Hey, you paying attention yet?
I'm surprised they weren't studying it in school.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So Tommy sees Randy and Julie together and then decides to turn her friends against her and be like, this guy's no good for her.
Yeah, they're having a quarantine beach party. They're all in bikinis. They have tropical looking drinks. They're like doing hula skirt type dancing in this bedroom. It's a very weird thing they're doing.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah, and then this is the part that really disturbed me. Like, I think this was more than the part where she's naked and in bed with a man, but hearing Tommy Pickles discussing lingerie and then being like, and no one can resist me. I was just like, nope.
Yeah, I was like, I'm uncomfortable.
This is the most like-heavy scene in the movie, which what this movie is mostly known for is the repetitive use of the word like, which is sort of seeped into many cultures. Hey, shout out to that piece of shit who reviewed our show and said it was unlistenable for that reason.
Oh, yeah.
But they are like doing it all over the place. Like, and they're talking about how Randy.
Well, the problem is also that now the word like means said.
Sure, yes.
He was like, what are you doing? Yeah. Instead of he said. So the problem is the word like is a space filler. It means to enjoy something. Sure. It means something is adjacent to something. It means someone said something.
Right,
the word like, eventually, we're just going to only say the word like with different inflections.
It'll be like buffalo,
Heathers.
Buffalo.
Yes, exactly. No Heather, it's Heather's turn.
Skip calls, and she thinks that Skip is interested in her, but this is where we see...
Susie.
Yeah, Susie. This is what we talked about a little earlier, where Skip was asking about her stepmother. Cut to, I guess the next day or days later, but Skip shows up at her house, and he peeps in the shower where the stepmom is showering, which of course leads to sex.
Where we see a body shower.
Yes, that's true.
And then we see his clothes strewn on the floor, and then a towel on the floor.
The scene previous with the quarantine beach party is basically the only part in the whole movie where the friends chime in on Randy and are like, we don't like this guy, he's no good for you. And that's it. Like that's the extent of it, is this one sequence.
Well, it's kind of been implied because that's sort of what they were talking about in the car.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it's like this scene is good and fine, but there's no reinforcement of it after, and so everything after this starts to happen in really fast motion, because at this point we're about an hour into the movie and there's only 40 minutes left, so it's just in almost speedrun mode of like, all right, let's get to the part where they get together and then break up and then get back together. It just feels like a lot and no reason for it.
I agree. But yeah, so we see Skip in bed with a woman that we assume is the stepmother, and I'm just all caps furious what's happening.
Yeah.
And then the stepmom opens the door and it turns out it's him with Susie. Thank God.
Yes. Julie hangs out with fake Sonny Bono and they have a debate about Randy versus Tommy, and he gives her some pretty...
It's a nice conversation.
Yeah, he gives her some pretty good advice, I feel.
Well, I wrote, Julie's finally talking to an adult who's going to say her friends are stupid.
Yeah.
You're in high school. Cut to 5 years from now where you probably won't talk to half these people, if not less.
Right. I think that's a thing that like is universally true, that everything that happens to you in high school feels monumental. And then even when you're like 2 years out from it, you start to be like, wow, that was really not as big of a deal as I thought it was. And I get that. And I think, I'm a big fan of a coming of age movie, which is basically all about that. But you kind of have to be in the right headspace for it. And so maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace for this movie, but it just was one of the times where you're listening to them talk about their problems, and I can't help but be like, Oh my God, it's not that big of a deal. It's gonna be.
It doesn't matter.
None of this matters. Oh my God. Cut to, we're meeting at a diner.
So is this the diner that we went to? Didn't we go to a diner in LA because Mom said it was in Valley Girl?
I don't think we went. No, we went to like a diners, drive-ins, and dives type diner when we were in LA.
No, there was one that was like, Mom, we drove by it or something.
We might have driven by this diner, but I don't think we ate at this diner.
I think maybe we got like a pie to go. Like we did something.
We went to a diner-like place that had like all these delicious like homemade pies and cakes and donuts and stuff.
No, there was one that was the movie. It was, I think it was Valley Girl.
You have to ask her. I don't know.
It wasn't until I was watching the movie and I saw a restaurant. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure we went to a restaurant from Valley Girl.
You're not confusing it with Randy's Donuts, are you?
No, it was like a restaurant. Okay. It was like a Mel's Drive-In.
Okay. Yeah, I don't recall. We might have gone to Mel's Diner.
Maybe.
Anyway, she's drinking a Pepto-Bismol milkshake and just the saddest looking hamburger along with precisely 1 million French fries.
Which is my preferred French fry ratio.
No, I'm fine with that, but it was like bright pink Pepto milkshake, just this sad cafeteria hamburger, and every French fry.
Because that hamburger was a chocolate cookie and a bun.
Yeah, maybe.
And that was a glass of Pepto-Bismol.
It sure looks like it.
And they were like, we can afford cut potatoes. You also didn't talk about Julie having the world's most terrifying clown doll to sleep with.
Oh, yeah. Super, super, super horrifying.
It just shows up for a scene, maybe two, but that's all.
But this is where, so she's at the diner, all of her friends show up, and she's, being popular can be so lonely. Oh, but Tommy still likes you. And then as they're having this discussion of whether she should get back together with Tommy or not, he, of course, shows up and all is forgiven.
Well, because Stacy's like Stacy's basically like talking into her lapel, like, we got it. Swing on in.
And I'm really annoyed at this point because Tommy Pickles is supposed to be her best friend and she knows he's a scumbag and she should pipe up about it.
Yeah.
She sits here quietly and you can see in her face, it's decent acting. You can see that she's bothered by it, but she doesn't say anything. Pipe up.
She doesn't say anything throughout the entire movie.
Right.
Which is bothersome.
Right. It's really bad.
Also, fun fact, Stacy, who I guess would be like the bitchiest of her friends, she was Rick Baker's assistant for a while.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Because I was like, went to her IMDb and a lot of it was like miscellaneous. So I clicked on it and it was like assistant to Mr. Baker, assistant to Rick Baker.
That's awesome.
For like it was in his like Wild Wild West Men in Black days.
Nick visits Julie and is like,
oh yeah. And so Tommy sits in the booth, takes her hamburger and her face is like, I am disgusted with every move you do and every breath you take. And then the next shot is her yelling at Nicolas Cage. And I was like, I don't get it. Right. You don't like Tommy. You aggressively, actively don't like him.
Right. He sucks and you know it. And why wouldn't you pipe up and help your friend out?
Well, no, her in general. I mean, Julie hates Tommy, not Tommy Pickles.
Right. Yeah. At no point in this movie, though, this is the problem with Julie as a character for me. At no point in this movie does she ever describe what she wants. So she gets back together with Tommy here, and then later when Nic Cage is trying to win her back, she continually tells him like, no, and then later is like, yes, okay, we are gonna get back together.
She doesn't have any dialogue about it.
Right.
He basically beats up Tommy, and then they grab hands and run away.
I just got a note that we did eat at this diner. It's called Dupree's Diner.
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
Dupree's? I'm checking. Looks like it says Dupars. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at a picture, and it's definitely the diner from this movie. And probably a bunch of others. Okay, well, you were right. I was wrong.
Haha. So
Nic Cage shows up to tell her that he's in love with her, and she says, oh, no, I don't want to.
He's wearing a suit,
Yeah, he's cleaned up nice, and is...
So... They were talking about like going to the prom, and then the next shot is Nicolas Cage walking up to the house in a suit, and I was like, "Is it prom night?"
Right? Yeah, I thought the same thing. But she turns him away, and then he proceeds to get rip-roaring drunk. And this is where you see some more good Cage acting, because this is the sort of...
Well, he gets mad first, because he's like, is it your parents? Like, I'll talk to your parents. I'm happy to, like, smooth things over. And she's like, it's not them. And he's like, oh, then it's your shitty-ass friends.
Yeah. Well, he's right. Like, they are shitty friends. He gets trashed, and this is like a glimmer of... the better Nic Cage actor sneaking his way into this movie. He's just totally hammered. And the bouncer, looks him up and down, sees that he is trash, and is like, go on in. Which is not what they're supposed to do.
Come on in, kid.
And he runs into his ex, and she is just all over him.
So, okay. So I read online that this girl that he hooks up with in the bathroom is actually the girl on the poster. It's not what's-her-face. But the poster is hand-drawn.
There is a weird thing with the poster of this movie, and I don't know if that is 100% true, but it's very, very odd looking.
I read a couple times that they were like, the woman on the poster, is, much to her dismay, is not the actress who plays Julie. It's this other person. And I was like, but it's a drawing.
But it doesn't look.
It's back in the days. It
doesn't look anything like Julie, though. It looks just like Nic Cage. It doesn't look anything like Julie. It does look like.
Oh, I thought the face. Yeah, I thought the face kind of looked like Julie.
I don't think so at all. I think it looks much more like this other. I actually, the first time I watched this, Mom had this on tape back in the day, and I did not understand. I also think it's weird that he has like multicolored hair on the poster, and he has like a little bit of orange highlight, but not obnoxious in the movie.
His friend is like full on spray paint.
Right.
But also, like, it's a drawing. Why couldn't they change the face?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Keep the body the same and just change the face.
It was some sort of licensing issue. I'm going to try to find it while we're talking here, but there's some sort of weird reason why it isn't.
Well, like, I know that's why Disney never puts out Enchanted merch or anything, because they didn't want to pay. They don't want to pay for the rights to Amy Adams' likeness in perpetuity.
Right, which makes sense.
Like her contract for the movie included like X years of merchandise, so that's why she's not a meet and greet character in the park and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I wonder if so. This says it was actress Tina Theberge.
Yeah.
Who might have originally been thought of as the lead, and then they changed it. Anyway, they go to like fool around in the bathroom. Apparently they updated the illustration for the newest DVD.
Oh, nice.
But they go to the bathroom to fool around, and then he kind of is no longer interested. They go out. He goes outside. He gets out of this bar.
But he randomly picks a fight with someone, and then his best friend shows up again because they left. We thought they left the movie.
Yeah, he took an Uber out of the movie.
You're gonna get yourself killed.
It's the rare Uber out of the movie, but then Uber back in for the last third for no reason.
I left my keys at the party. We have to go back. I can't get into my apartment. You have to take me back.
So Cage pukes a bunch of times here, and he plays very drunk way, way too well, I think.
Yeah, it's fun to play drunk, though.
And he then shows up at Julie's house and gets in the back seat, and this is where I'm uncomfortable. It's you're doing too much. She said no. Maybe you get one after that, but after that, you're a problem, and he just won't let up.
Well, so this is the only time he attempts to talk to her.
Yeah, but then he stalks her.
He also gets jobs, because he's not like, he is the one tearing tickets at the movie theater. He is the guy running food at the roller skate diner.
Are they actually his jobs, or is he just like showing up and pretending to be those people? Because it seems to me like the second thing.
He's the one tearing the tickets. He's the one delivering the food. I don't think you can walk into a McDonald's and be like, I'll deliver this, or walk into a restaurant and be like, I'll deliver this food.
You can if you put a uniform on.
You think it's that easy?
Dude, okay. We've talked about this before. Before, like, 2001, you could do anything you wanted as long as you pretended you were where you're supposed to be. There are so many stories you hear of very famous people who got their big break by pretending to be a waiter or pretending to be a thing and just just showing up and doing it. Nobody checked anything. Nobody ever asked for ID. Nobody ever wanted to see your backstage pass. People just walked around and did things. There was no rules back then.
Okay.
I very easily think he could have walked into the back of this restaurant, put a uniform on, and then delivered the food. But the best part of the food delivery one is where he's like, hey man, you forgot our fish and chips. And he's like, well, Peter Piper picked a pepper. I guess I did. And then he spits his gum. It's crazy.
But Julie laughs at that.
Yeah, it's buck wild. I was uncomfortable. Oh, we also didn't mention that he called in a radio dedication to her favorite station.
Oh, yeah.
And then this little montage of Nic Cage's odd jobs culminates with her. It's like, she gets out of bed, looks out the window, and there he is, asleep on her front lawn with no shirt and a sleeping bag, and his boots are next to his head.
It's so bizarre.
It is too much by half.
So then his friend and him talk about, like, the prom or something, and he pulls this weird orange thing out of his pocket.
Yeah.
And blows into it, and I don't know what it is.
It's like a kazoo.
It's weird.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, it doesn't make any notes. So I don't know if you...
It feels like something Nic Cage actually had in his pocket, and then the director was like, it's whatever. We're like so close to lunch. Fine. All right.
Well, like, if he had pulled out a kazoo and played, like, taps on the... and, like, hummed out taps on the kazoo...
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, sure, I get... but, like, I don't know what he's trying to accomplish
Yeah.
with this weird orange plastic
It's
thing.
so odd. This is prom prep. And the hippie parents get to meet Julie's boyfriend. And the dad gets so nervous he has a quick J in the bathroom.
Real quick puff.
Julie is wearing tiny lace gloves that don't quite get all the way down her
She
hands.
looks like she's going to a Southern cotillion.
Yeah.
She doesn't look like she's going to
Yeah.
prom. I didn't like that.
The pink tux is also really a delight. I think Tommy...
It's like a Carrie pink.
Yeah, Tommy really nails this one. And they mention at this point that the parents just got married in September. So I couldn't tell, is this a second marriage situation or just they never actually got married, they just had been together for forever?
I think it's the latter. Like, they're hippies, they didn't care about the man or whatever.
That was the impression I got too, but I was just curious. We get to prom, and everyone's doing some prom dancing. Then we cut to the punch bowl, and there's a bunch of chaperones there, all wearing prom clothes. The men are in tuxes, and the one teacher is wearing a prom dress.
That's a thing in movies.
I know,
Like
it's
in
weird.
Carrie.
It's so weird.
I feel like my teachers were like...
Nice clothes that they clearly owned. Who owns a tux and a prom dress as an adult?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a floor-length dress doesn't seem that out of the realm of possibility in the 80s.
It's not that it's a floor-length dress. It's that it's a prom dress. It's got like very weird high shoulder cut things. It's just like a prom dress. It's not. I mean, it's just obviously a prom dress. It's not a gown. It's a prom dress.
Okay.
It's not classy. It's a little bit trashy. That's how you know the difference. All prom dresses are a little bit trashy.
I don't think that's 100% true.
I think if you put a prom dress and a formal gown next to each other, you would instantly know which one was which.
I had friends who wore very nice dresses to prom.
Well, when I went to prom, most of the dresses were real short.
No, we were all floor length, pretty much.
What?
At prom?
With respect, are you talking specifically about your theater gang or all the people in your school?
Almost, I don't remember there being many short dresses at prom.
That's buck wild to me.
Junior prom, I didn't go to junior prom, but junior prom had short dresses. But senior prom was almost exclusively floor length.
I can think of like 3 people I knew who had long gowns.
At senior prom?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, senior prom was like exclusively because like that was the thing. You were like, oh, you buy a short dress is homecoming, and then a floor length dress was prom. Shark bite cutouts were a big thing the year I went to prom, but none of like the people I knew actually had those.
Interesting. They spiked the punch. One of
the band sings a song called "Johnny, Are You Queer Boy?"
There was a minor hit for I think her Jenny Cotton. I think her name is. One of her backup dancers looks like Jenna Maroney from 30 Rock. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to rewatch this movie now. I love Jenna Maroney.
We cut to the king and queen sequence, and the teacher is
I don't think I mean, again, I didn't go to junior prom because I was like, I'm not paying money to get dressed up and dance in the gym because that sounds stupid. But I don't think we had a king and queen of junior
I don't think
prom.
we had a king and queen at either prom. You and I have discussed this before.
Oh yeah.
In fact, hold on.
Had...
I'm gonna go to the research.
Yeah, we had homecoming court and senior prom king and queen, but we didn't have. I don't think there was a junior prom king and queen.
I'm going to the yearbook.
You brought yours with you?
Yeah, I don't know why, but it is here. Okay, if we did have a king and queen, they weren't pictured as king and queen.
Yeah, because I don't think junior prom had king
I'm
and
looking
queen.
at the senior prom pictures.
Oh, senior prom.
I'm saying I don't think we had a king and queen at all.
Huh.
Yeah, if we had a king and queen, they were not pictured as such.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I remember mine. I could still tell you who she was.
Multiple pictures of a chocolate fountain, though.
I don't remember our food situation, but I remember we discovered the tablecloths were hydrophobic. Like someone accidentally spilled some water and we were like, oh, hold on.
They're all scotch guarded to hell. So this king and queen sequence, the craziest part of it is this woman going on and on and on and on.
Oh, the teacher's so lame.
She's psychotic. She seems like a lunatic. It seems like the thing you would get to in a horror movie or an episode of, say, Psych, where she does this whole bit, and then it's revealed that she's trying to murder the two teens in question. But
like the crowns are hooked up to the thrones because it's actually an electric chair.
Or there's some sort of poison all rubbed all over them. But she's going on and on about this, how they're the perfect representation of the school. Meanwhile, Nic Cage and Tommy are having an actual fist fight, and then
a loud fight.
Yes,
they're like screaming.
The band can.
How does no one hear this?
The band can hear it, and the teacher who's 1 foot in front of the band can't.
Yeah.
And then the thing pulls away, the curtain pulls away to reveal them having a fist fight.
And then Nicolas Cage grabs Julie's hand and they run away and start a food fight so that they can get out of the
Have you ever been in one of those?
A food fight? I think someone in our neighborhood had a food fight party, like for their birthday.
I kind of want to do that at some point. I feel like I've never done that. That's like the two things in movies that seem the most fun to me are like actual movie parties, although I think I would hate it once I was there. I'd be like, there's too many people, it's too loud, this is awful, it's trash. And then having a food fight, which is another thing that would probably be fun until it was happening, and then you're like, I hate this, just hose me off.
I've always wanted to have one like on the beach.
I just need it near a hose, so that afterwards somebody
I feel
just
like in
spray.
On the beach, it's sort of like, oh, it's just food, so it's gonna like the animals, the birds are gonna eat it, whatever. We can wash off in the ocean, and then we're good.
An environmentalist person, not me, would tell you that that's not great anyway. But yes, I think your general feeling is fine.
But yeah, I think one of our neighbors had like a birthday party food fight, which was fun.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. They steal the limo.
When this is over, I would love to have a food fight.
Yeah, you got to get like the right foods. I did one of those. There was a thing, a very Groupon-y thing of similar to the tomato festival in Spain, where you throw the tomatoes. And I went and did that, and it was fun until people started throwing tomatoes that they hadn't pre-squished. And then you were just getting like bombed by tomatoes, and it sucked.
Welts.
Yeah, basically.
What food? So like obviously cake and pie. I feel like good food fight foods.
A pie is like I would love to give someone a pie to the face, like an actual.
We did that in a show once.
Not a whipped cream. Like I want to get a blueberry pie and just like.
No, we did.
It has to be
whipped cream that was just shaving cream.
Yeah, it has. I want it to be an honest to goodness. And again, I hate food waste, so it needs to be like an unsold pie that was going to be thrown away anyway. But it needs to be like blueberry or raspberry or cherry, like a goopy pie, not apple, too firm. I want like a lot of blop.
What about pumpkin? I feel like a pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin would be okay. What I really want is you smoosh it into someone's face and you let go, and then off their chin is more than one dribble.
A glob?
Yeah, but
okay.
like a bloop bloop like Mrs. Doubtfire. I want like multiple. I want them to wipe their eyes clear, and then I want just like it to drip off their chin for a second or three.
Okay,
that's the ideal.
What are there any other foods that would be good food fight foods?
It has to be like the cake is a good one. I feel like a squished tomato is great. Like it just needs to be soft. Rice.
Oh yeah,
pasta,
noodles, pasta. Yeah, I'm thinking pasta would be a good food.
Handfuls of spaghetti feels fun as heck.
Handfuls of or mac and cheese.
Yeah, not hot soup.
Yeah, okay.
And no chowders. It needs to be a brothy soup.
I was gonna say, do you want like a chunk?
No, I don't want clam chowder in anyone's hair, but like chicken noodle soup, where it's just like mushy vegetables, noodles, and water. Yeah, give me a big chunk. Give me a gallon of soup to dump over a head.
I feel like all seafood is off the table.
No seafood. Probably no meat. Honestly,
no protein sources.
Vegetarian is best here. Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Maybe although cheeses, I guess.
Yeah, I don't want cheese. You'll end up with like a little in your hair that you don't get, and then it rots.
Mac and cheese. I think mac and cheese would be so fun to throw.
Maybe. I'd rather just have the boiled noodles. Anyway, if you've had a food fight out there, send us a picture.
Yeah, tell us what foods you used.
Yeah, no, we would love to hear. Apparently, we're going to do this. So they escape and they steal the limo, and the limo driver apparently doesn't know that it's a different person because he's like, "Sir, to the Sheraton." And then he's like, yeah, that's what we want to do. And he just puts the visor thing up and they drive away.
Well, the girl's the same, so maybe he's just like...
She didn't hire the car, did she?
No, she did, assuming not.
And then we get the second I'll Stop the World and Melt with You freeze frame as we pull up to Los Angeles.
And the
freeways.
Graduate reference.
Yeah, that's true. It is a little bit.
It's a real tight close on the two of them.
Yeah, but they seem happy here.
Yeah. She throws the bracelet out the window.
Yeah. And that's Valley Girl. Final thoughts?
It's decent. I just think it needs. It doesn't need a reboot. It needs to go back in time and tighten it up.
Yeah, I mean,
Take more than 10 days to write your script.
I always say that, you can, if you're going to do a remake, it's better to do a remake of a bad movie. And I don't think this movie is particularly great. I know that's going to be really upsetting to some people, but I think this is a movie that could very easily be redone. The problem is it doesn't need to be an 80s movie, and especially it doesn't need to be a musical, which is pants on head crazy as far as
I don't think it's a real musical.
There's dance numbers all over that trailer.
But it's no. The trailer is the same dance number.
Okay.
They keep cutting to the same shot, like it's like a
okay.
pier.
Okay.
So I think that's just like a cheeky opening number.
Because the daughter does call her out and be like, "You were dancing synchronized," so maybe that's right. But it doesn't seem to make sense to me. It seems like the oddest choice. It could very easily be set today. It doesn't have to be in the 80s, but it seems like a fun way to do Romeo and Juliet as high school cliques. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just found this very slow. I know a lot of people love this movie. I think I liked this movie more the first time I watched it, which was probably 15 years ago.
Kevin Smith loves this movie. Quentin Tarantino loves this movie.
Yeah, and I think it's part of that is Los Angeles being super cool and accessible in this movie, and so for young movie geek dudes, that makes a ton of sense to me that they were obsessed with a movie about Los Angeles, which is a place they wanted to be desperately.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, I don't know. I felt like this was pretty boring, to be honest with you. I think they have great chemistry. I think there's some really good moments in it, but I think the movie itself is pretty dry.
Well, apparently they dated.
I didn't see they did. I saw he was super creepy, maybe not creepy, but super obsessed with her, crushing on her, writing her poems and such.
Oh, I thought I read that the breakup scene was hard because they were dating by then.
Oh, interesting. Maybe that's true. Maybe they weren't dating and then they dated, but I'd give this a light recommend. It's
a short movie.
Yeah, and it's cute. It has some nice moments. Certainly, if you were alive in the 80s and remember this stuff, it's probably like a nostalgia bomb for you.
For sure.
As somebody who wasn't, it's just kind of okay. But yeah, I mean, there are worse ways to spend your time in quarantine, that's for sure. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Check us out online. We're on Facebook and at Dissect the 80s on Twitter. Don't forget to send us in your requests for Listener Request Month. That's 856-DISSECT. Can't wait to see what you're sending us. We will be back in 2 weeks to discuss Gymkata, which I'm very excited about. It's basically the actual version of the Olympic movie we pitched a couple episodes back, but we'll get to that in due time.
We'll get there.
Don't forget to check out patreon.com/dissecting80s. If you are on Patreon, make sure you contribute to the Patreon Listener Request Month pick. Thank you again so much for listening to the show. I have been Tripp Leno.
I will always be Andrew Leno.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production. Things we're gonna cut out in editing.
That sort of has a...
It always feels like she's hitting...